So what's going on there, YouTube, Twitch fans? Just doing another build video today. This one goes out to a fellow player. His name is Slayer. He's from a different clan. But I also want to give a shout out to FKM Division, Death Division. The frickin' killing machines. Yeah, they're a good team. They've been encouraging me to get these videos going and to put this YouTube content out there for people to see. And I was able to test this build out for about 3-4 hours yesterday, running some challenging with a few directives, some heroics. I've also worked on it in some legendary missions, but have not really mastered that part of it yet. I don't normally tank, so sometimes it gets a little hard to do so when you're on spread out missions such as Roosevelt Island, which is where I tested the build at. But anyways, just wanted to show you guys what I came up with and my variation of the build that Slayer had put together. It's a very cool hybrid build. You can survive just about any content out there as long as you start mastering the gameplay style. I definitely recommend playing it for a little while before you actually break in and start doing it. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and bust out this video and show you what's up. So first things first, there's a couple specializations that you can use for the video because it's based on protection from elites. You gain an extra 10% if you're using Survivalist. I chose to use Firewall because it grants the players that I play with an extra 10% damage to all targets within 10 meters. And so that benefits the group as a whole, and you know from my previous videos I like to do a lot of benefiting group, and I choose to run abilities and builds that benefit the group as a whole because I run as a group a lot of times. This build is definitely solo capable and probably even PvP capable. But to start it off here, we'll go into the build, and you can see that it's Firewall specialization. Grenade really doesn't matter. It's not really the point behind the build. I am using the Savage Wolverine high DPS and high RPM AR that you would have to be able to craft by going into the Firewall specialization. And once you complete the different tasks throughout the research phase, you'd be able to get that weapon. You can see that I've got it all fully set up with damage to armor. And you can see that the talent is perfectly close and personal. Now, you could run a Honey Badger or many other weapons with close and personal. I am working on a SOCOM MK16 as well. So once I get that in there, I'll be testing that out. You can see that I'm running the mop. You can see the mop has 10% armor on kill, which is just kind of a nice way to be able to save the armor on the, or rebuild your armor on the build, and be able to come back with another 200k armor on kill. So it's kind of nice to be able to get that. And you also get 40% weapon damage after 3 kills. So another benefit there. You will see that I'm also running the Liberty, which is another primary use weapon that we use when we're running this build. And the reason why we use this weapon is not only because it hits so hard, but it grants 2% weapon damage on hit and stacks up to 30 times. Now, the cool thing about this weapon is that it helps with your Bulwark Shield or your Crusader or Firewall Shield. The headshots consume all those stacks, and they repair your shield for 3% per stack. So if you get a few stacks put together, you can repair your shield pretty good. Now, you all know that with 6 blue cores, that Bulwark Shield, it has quite a bit of health. I think mine's sitting at about 14 mil or just over 14 mil right now. That's a lot of health to go through. But another primary focus that I'm going to show you here is going to be this Chill Out mask. Now, if you don't run the Chill Out mask, you can run a regular Gilead Guard mask, but you won't have the benefit of getting the additional mod slot. The whole special thing about the Chill Out mask that was launched during Christmas this year, and that was available for quite some time after, is that it gave you the 2 mod slots. So now you can see that I have this mask set up for armor and then crit chance. Now, I ran this build as a blue core and then a red attribute, and I'll go through that further with you, but you can see that I'm putting Protection Elites mods in here. Now, if you don't have this mask, you're probably going to have to run an additional piece of improvised gear, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So you can see that the backpack on the build I'm running right now is going to be a Badger Tough. Your bag doesn't have to be Badger Tough, but you definitely need 2 pieces of Badger Tough in order to get the 5% total armor bonus. Now you can see that I have this set up, of course, the way it comes with the armor bonus on it. And you can see that it's set for crit hit damage and crit hit chance. Those are not God rolled because I had to actually build this piece myself. You can see that I do have a God rolled Protection Elites mod on there, and I'm running Adrenaline Rush to gain that bonus armor when I get close to enemies. So now whenever I'm within 10 meters of an enemy, I gain 20% of my 2 million armor. So that's 400,000 armor bonus that I get per stack, and that stacks up to 3 times. So I can get that almost up to 1 million bonus armor. So that's pretty good, and you can see that it does have a cooldown of 5 seconds, but that renews itself as you coming in closer to enemies, and it completely will continue to refresh itself as well. So another good thing you can run. You can also run the memento on this build, but you would have to collect trophies in order to get the regen, and you also would lose the Badger Tough bonus, but you could put that somewhere else. So to go further into it here, we're going to talk about the chest piece. Now the chest piece I'm running on this is the Hunter Killer. I prefer this piece because it gives me the bonus damage that I need to be able to assist with taking down enemies, and also to be able to generate the amount of threat that I need to keep those enemies off of my teammates. Now you all know when you play in a tank and you run with these tanks, it's really difficult to maintain threat if you're tanking, and it's really difficult for your tanks to maintain that threat. So there's further points in this build that you'll see that I've added in here that will make it to where you can do that. Now, the Protection Elites mods, they're a must. Okay, that puts me at 62% once I'm done after you see this next piece I'm going to show you. So this is another 12%er here. You could definitely jack these up a little bit. You can see that I've been working on this chest piece. It's fully optimized with crit hit damage and crit hit chance. It runs the perfect Intimidate talent, so a regular Intimidate chest piece would work here. You do not have to run Gulan gear. You could run something else and get a little bit more benefit out of some armor, or even run a red piece like an AR piece or something like that, like a Fenris. You could do something of that sort, as long as it's blue cores, so you got your 6 blue cores. You could also modify it any way you want for doing more damage and having less armor. But having less armor, of course, is going to make your shield have less armor. So we like to stick with these 6 blue cores. So far, it's been putting out pretty heavy amounts of damage when I'm running anything up into the heroic content level. So anyways, moving on into the next piece. We've got the Bellstone Armory gloves. Now these give me 1% armor regen. Now that's not a lot of armor regen, but it's a little bit, and it's a little bit that I need. So I went ahead and put it in there because this piece right here to me makes it to where when I pop out my bulwark shield, I can stand behind that shield as long as I don't let anybody get behind me, and I can regenerate some of my armor. You could definitely sub this piece out for something else like some Badger Tough to get the 10% armor on kill with the 3-piece. You can see that I have a piece here set up to be able to go in there for that. Okay. You could also throw in something like some Petrov Defense named Contractor's gloves and throw a armor core on those. But those are very difficult to find. That are when you want to find a set that's set up so that it's got the blue capable setting on it, you have to find a piece that's got either crit damage or crit chance, and sometimes that can get a little tricky. So I would highly recommend just sticking with either the Badger Tough or the Bellstone Armory gloves. But then again, you can slot those pieces anywhere you want. Now let's get into this next piece here. So the 2-piece of the Badger Tough comes from my knees. You can see that these knees are set with crit chance and crit damage. The 2-piece gives me the 5% total armor, which jacks it up to 2 million, as you see there. And it just seems like 2 million is just a real good soft cap to be at in this build when you're running legendaries. Because legendaries, I know y'all have been playing, and it definitely, the mobs, they put out a ton of damage. Alright, so you got to be careful if you're going to try to run up in there as a tank. They'll eat you alive. Alright, so you can see that an additional piece that I have here is an improvised piece, and this improvised piece gives me the ability to be able to put a mod slot on it. These are craftable pieces. Anybody can make them once they get the patterns. You can see that I have this piece set up for armor, critical hit chance, and critical hit damage. Again, you can see that it's set as a blue core attribute, and then my other attributes are set for crit chance and crit damage. And then I'm going protection elites with my mods. So let's go ahead and go further into this and show you the stats on this build after I show you my shield. So we got a shield here with almost 14 million health, okay? I am running a 8% shield health mod and an 8% active regeneration mod. Those come from the Firewall Specialization. If you're not sure how to get those, then you can always just find your regular mods that you put in there. I'm also running a 4.7 holster regen mod on there. Occasionally when I'm doing challenging content, farming resource convoys, things like that, I did switch over to the Firewall Shield, and it did grant me an extra 200k damage from my assault rifle. So that definitely was a benefit when you're trying to burn stuff down faster, maybe in PvP or something of the sort. So anyways, get into this other piece. This is going to be the decoy. Now the reason why I'm using the decoy here is not only to be able to turn enemies' backs towards me or towards my allies that are on my team, but also to generate threat. So now, because I'm throwing a decoy, it generates 100% threat. Now once that decoy dies, where do you think that threat goes? Well, back to me. So that's a way that I can generate some threat and keep those enemies on myself. You can see that this decoy, even at a skill tier 0, it almost has 1 million health, so it's going to last for a little while too. And it's also going to sit down there for 19.5 seconds almost there. With a 22-second cooldown, that actually gives you a very short cooldown in between throwing it and then throwing it again, as long as it doesn't die in between throws. Alright, so basically showed you all the pieces of the build, and you know, I mean, honestly, you could do a different variation of this if you want. This chest piece can be changed out for something like, I have another chest piece here. It's going to be this 0F's chest piece. Another good chest piece. It does give you the 3-piece Badger Tough if you run it, and you would then get the perfectly unbreakable talent. Now you could also run just a regular unbreakable talent on there if you wanted to. And like I said, you could find yourself something like a Fenris that's got some of the abilities that you want on it. But honestly, I really think that the way to run this build right now is going to be, if you want to run it the way that you saw some of my gameplay previously, you're going to want to run it with this Badger Tough piece, or you're going to want to run it with the Hunter Killer. And if you don't have the Hunter Killer, then you can go and farm other pieces that give you just as much damage as the Hunter Killer, other than the 40% bonus. I think without the Hunter Killer, you're only getting a 35% bonus. Still pretty big. Anyways, guys, that's the build, and without further ado, I'll go ahead and let you guys get to it. Feel free to check out the gameplay that I have. It's in my live stream videos. I did record some gameplay last night. You can check that out. I'll try to add a link at the end of this video once I get it created as an actual build video. This was a live stream, so thank you everybody, and enjoy, and we'll see you out there on Division.